James Stoop was drafted into Vietnam right out of college, and because he was a pretty good writer, he got writing jobs and got out of combat. His book tells the story of what life was like off the battlefield, behind the scenes. It's called Behind the Wire. And James, you say by the time you got there, the war was winding down, right?
But I had only been there for 5 months, and you had to be there 7 months or longer to go home with the division. So I was transferred to the 1st Air Cavalry Division. Now, my book is about life in the rear as opposed to life on the front lines, almost like the MASH of Vietnam. It's a comedy drama. It shows the absurdity of the war. It shows how guys lived that didn't see combat. Because for every 2 guys in the field, there were 3 guys in the rear in support positions, admin, finance, medics. And it is the first book that I have read that completely chronicles the 365-day experience that was Vietnam. It was very much sex, drugs, rock and roll, and insubordination when I was there. 65% of the troops were high most of the time, mostly pot. Heroin became an epidemic by the time I left. The military broke down. The guys were refusing to go into the field. Behind the Wire is the title of the book. All base camps were surrounded by barbed wire. So if you were inside the base camp, you were pretty safe. If you were out in the field, you weren't. So unlike the myriad of combat books that have been written about Vietnam, this is a story about how guys lived that were in the base camps, that were secure, that didn't see combat. And basically, there was a subculture of anti-war, anti-establishment troops over there that basically did their own thing and got away with it. It was just an unbelievable scene. The camaraderie, the brotherhood of the troops that were over there that supported each other, whether they were in the field or not in the field. It was just an amazing, amazing experience. Having been a writer and collected all the writing materials and the letters that I had sent home, it impacted my life so much that I had to tell this story. And before I left, I sued the Army. I had a dissident lawyer advise me on if they ever hassled you and harassed you and started busting your balls, here's something you can do to get back at them within the Uniform Code of Military Justice. And the end of the book shows how I got together with 82 guys in my company, and we went after our captain and battalion commander because of the horrible conditions of food and sanitary and also just harassing us. So we actually sued the Army and won. The whole book tells this one amazing experience after another of things like this that went on behind the scenes. And I had to tell this story, and I had all these notes, and I started writing and making notes and planning the book, but as my profile says, life got in the way, so to speak. But I finally completed a first draft in 1994. And after I retired and moved to Florida, I went back in 2014 and did a complete rewrite of the book, able to maintain the integrity of the book and the story. And if I hadn't had all the notes, and if I hadn't written that first draft in 94, there's no way I would have remembered this stuff, especially in the kind of detail. People that read the book say they feel like they were there with me, and it's just something that I had to do. You know, it speaks a lot to the futility of that war and how it impacted people, but yet it tells a different side to the Vietnam War than the horror of combat and that particular aspect of things.
Okay, so like the MASH of the Vietnam War. James, you were so lucky you could write. And writers, did you hear what he said, my Page Publishing Book Club faithful? He felt compelled. That's a magic word. He felt compelled to write this book. And, you know, that's a really big